Hey people, what's up? That was a quick snippet of the beat I'm going to be putting together today. And today we're going to be focusing on how to build better beats from scratch. And the keyword here is build, because that's really what we're doing when we're making a beat, is we're starting with one track and kind of layering other things around it. And they all need to work together, whether that's rhythmically or sonically or both. So without further ado, let's hop on into Ableton. So the very first thing I do when I'm going to start a beat is I want to think about what kind of music I actually want to make. So this one I kind of want to do more of like the chill lo-fi vibe, kind of with my own twist on it though. So I have my BPM set at 72, and a lot of times just to get started I like to kind of noodle around on my keyboard until I come up with some pretty chords, and I like to start from there. So now that I have those really beautiful chords, I want to add a pad in the background to kind of help sustain them where the piano is having a little bit of trouble. And I have this idea in my head of creating like a really nice electronic sounding pad with like a lot of shimmer to kind of complement the more organic sounding piano. So I'm going to come in here to Factory and let's do Classic Blend and bring that like up to here. Let's turn on the second oscillator and let's do Classic Fade. Maybe somewhere like here. And I'm going to send both of those to filter 1. Let's make this a 24 dB cutoff. Let's take that down a little bit. And let's shape this so it's more like a pad, so we have a little bit of a gradual attack. Bring that down. And then I want to create a second envelope that's going to kind of control this filter. So let's do something like this. Let's drag it forward. Maybe add a little bit like that. And have it come back down. Let's drag that down to here. And I really want this kind of to pitch up as the chord hits. So I'm going to take both of these down by 6 semitones. And I'm going to use a third envelope. Let's drag this something like this. And I'm going to attach this third envelope to the pitch. And let's just hit enter value. So let's hit 6. And we're going to do it for this one too. Right click, enter value, 6. So you can hear now the notes are actually starting 6 semitones below where I want them to hit. And let's just add a little bit of unison to both of these. So that sounds pretty good for the bass, and I'm going to add some effects in Ableton. So first I'm just going to add a little bit of saturation here. So it's on soft clip with just 1 dB of drive. Next we have hybrid reverb on the shimmer setting. And I'm really boosting those highs because I want that shimmeriness. Some EQ just to kind of contain it in here. And grain delay to give it even more shimmeriness, because we can never have enough shimmeriness. So now that my chords are done, the next thing I always like to think about are the drums, because drums are so important in terms of dictating the rhythm. And it doesn't really matter what genre you're making, there's always some relationship between your drums and your bass, and usually your melody as well. So now that I have the chords and the drums done, next I want to add my bass. And if you struggle with creating bass lines, this is a really great way to do it because you have the notes, so you can pretty much add any note in your chords and it's going to sound pretty good. And if you struggle with rhythm, you really can just follow along the kick drum rhythm that you have. And they can hit on the same time or they can hit in between, but really it's going to sound pretty cohesive if it seems like they're interacting with each other. So I went ahead and froze and flattened my bass line because there was a lot happening with my amp sim and a lot of other plugins. But I just want to take a look at this relationship that I was talking about. So you can see that the bass is playing kind of the same notes here. So we have these two notes hitting at the same time as this kick. And then we have some sustained notes happening. So we're not adding a lot of extra rhythm, but we're filling in the lower end of the spectrum where there are no kick drums happening. And this is really what I was talking about when we're layering new instruments or tracks, that it's always going back to the layers we already have, and they're kind of talking to each other and they're working together. And I promise I'm not coming for you if you use loops, because I use loops too. Anytime you grab like a bass loop, for example, off of Splice, it's never going to have the same groove, the same swing, the same rhythm as what you already have created. And it can sound good, but it's never going to match exactly what you have. So just something to think about when you're creating your beats. You don't want all of these different things coming together like in a vacuum and then throwing them together. You want them all to kind of be communicating with each other. So now that the chords and most of the rhythmic stuff with the drums and bass are done, I want to think about adding a melody. So I'm going to grab my guitar and we'll start from there. So I just went ahead and double tracked those guitars, meaning I just recorded the same part twice, and I have them slightly panned right and left here. So I feel like I'm almost ready to start arranging with this main loop. The last thing I want to add is a counter melody with the piano that's going to kind of play off of the guitar. Okay, so here's what the beat looks like arranged out. So the main piano chords, the vital chords, that piano counter melody that comes in here, the bass line. I separated out my kick just for mixing purposes from the rest of my drums. We have that guitar. There's a couple little extras down here that aren't doing a whole lot. So just for a transition, I took one of my guitar notes, hit R to reverse the waveform, add some reverb, and that's a pretty cool little transition. Just some really simple like ambience here. And then just a couple reverse hi-hats here. And that is going to do it for this one. If you would like to stream this beat, it is on all the major streaming platforms. Link will be in the description below. And until next time, I hope you take care.